Yes, right.
And Rabbi Gordis, third question is, how does science and culture fit into religion? For instance, Islam promotes arts and culture and being intellectual so that one can observe and reflect the beautiful and miraculous creation of Allah. And this might one other commonality of religions. Do you agree? And what is other religions' take on science and culture?
Yes, I mean, this age-old and I think incorrect characterization of this supposed ongoing conflict between religion and science. I believe that science and religion deal with totally different kinds of questions. Science doesn't deal with the question of meaning. Science deals with how something takes place, the mechanics, and it's very important. And by using science objectively, we can enhance the quality of life by helping cure disease and by expanding what people can know. And if we know more about themselves, we can do more to improve the world. But that doesn't give you a sense of purpose. It's religious conversation, religious cultures, particularly the interrelations between religious communities that provide the framework for asking the questions of why, what does it all mean, what are we working for, what should we be using scientific discoveries for, what is the purpose? And there were those people, as we know in the past, where scientific discoveries have been used for perverted purposes, for destructive purposes, right? And that's because it was not informed by the best of the religious traditions, which say that the function of science, the function of knowledge, should be to enhance the human experience, and central to that is enhance the relationships between people and among different peoples. So the conflict is one which has never been a real conflict for me. I am very much scientifically oriented. I love to read science and to study science and astronomy and physics and mathematics, etc. But that has nothing to do with my religious exploration, my spiritual self, my attempt to answer those fundamental questions of meaning. Science will never answer those questions, and therefore, in a sense, there should be an interrelationship between them. In that sense, I think the other part of your observation and question is also appropriate, because it's not only a specific religion. I mean, we all are comfortable within our religious traditions. We feel blessed to be part of our tradition, whether it's the Muslim, the Christian, or the Jew. But beyond that, we also have to say, but I'm a human being, and I have to look at the world, and I want to relate to people beyond my own community, and I want to relate in a positive way. And together, when we look at these questions of what the meaning and the purpose of life is, and how we apply science, and how we use the knowledge that we have, the conversation between religious traditions is useful for that. You know, one of the things that I did that was not included in that, when I was at Hebrew College in Boston, I established something called the Interreligious Center on Public Life. And here, the idea was not simply to have another interreligious group. Those are wonderful, but sometimes they become stale. Because if it's a Jew and a Christian and Muslim talking to each other, it often ends up, okay, what do I think of you? What do you think of me? And I'll tell you what my tradition is, and you tell you what your tradition is, and then it becomes tired after a while. So the objective of this interreligious center was different. Yes. It was to say, let's look at major issues that the world faces. Let's say bioethical issues, or political issues, or social issues. And let's look at what each of our traditions can bring to the table to contribute to our conversation. So what is a Muslim perspective on, let's say, religion and society? And what the Christians have to say about that? And how the Jews see it? And this was a conversation where the series of conversations, and the entity still exists, it discusses matters of concern to the world from the perspective of each of our Abrahamic traditions. So
Yes.
it's not simply talking about how we talk to each other, but the things that we share in common, and even the things that we look at differently. You see, because if I can look at an issue like a religion and society, or we call the United States church-state issues, in one way, and I listen to my Christian friend or my Muslim friend and say, you know, we look at it differently. In many ways, it's more important for me to hear that than to hear that they agree with me it's the same thing. Because you see, if it's something that I already have, then my Christian or Muslim friend saying it's the same thing, that doesn't expand me. I'm not growing from that. But if I have a point of view and I hear a different point of view from a Christian or Muslim friend, then I say, hey, that's interesting. I have to think about that. That can make me grow. That can challenge me. It can make me grow.
Yeah.
That's a function of interreligious relationship, but it's one which requires, as I say, this kind of modesty and a willingness to be open to the position of the other and to say, you know, I can learn from you. I don't have to become a Christian or become a Muslim to learn from Christianity and Islam, but I can be enhanced in my life as a human being and as a Jew by hearing and relating to my Christian and Muslim friends.
Yes,
you're right.
you're right.
Definitely. I mean, this
This
is
is
stated in, actually what you're saying is stated in the Quran also, that Allah says we do not differentiate between the prophets. Moses, Solomon, David, Jacob, and Jesus are all our prophets also. Allah says we do not differentiate between them. And the Gospel and the Torah exist, which are revealed by Allah. In fact, we read Torah and the Gospel all the time, besides Quran. We read Quran also, but we read Torah, we read Gospel also. And there is a lot, we learn them
common.
also, inshallah.
Too many common words.